Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. Today, we're going to be looking at some online tourney results. It's been a minute since I've done one of these videos again, but I did want to look at them because I've actually been scrolling through the online tourney scene recently, because I do want to, maybe stream one eventually. But I've been seeing a lot of wacky decks getting top 8 all of a sudden. So I definitely wanted to take a look at this because a lot of crazy decks are starting to get top 8. A lot of wacky, wild decks are in top 8 of these online tourneys. And it's always fun to look at what people are bringing to these online tournaments and seeing what decks are actually doing well. To kind of get a gauge of the meta. I'm still waiting for the Kyoto Champions League results to be posted. We haven't really gotten the full deck list yet of every deck played. And also, by the way, if you're new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We are closing in on 10,000 subs. I want to try to get 10K subs by the end of the year. So if you haven't subbed yet and you enjoy the content here on the second channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. It would be greatly appreciated because I really want to try to get 10K subs by January 1st, 2024. But let's take a look at the online tournament results. Leave a link down below to Play.Limitless if you ever want to go play in any of these tournaments yourself. And let's get into it. So we got the Battle Park tournament here to start things off with. The winning deck, of course, was good old Lost Tina, which this Tina deck does play a Shaman V. The idea behind the Shaman is that it is a really good attacker against Charizard. Well, Tina already has a technical good matchup against Charizard. You do have that extra little bit of power with the Shaman in the deck to make the Charizard matchup even better. So this deck, technically, if you set up, shouldn't lose to Charizard. Not when you have Tina and Shaman. I mean, that's just you could call it overkill. I think it's decent. And it did win the tournament after all. In second place here, we got a Lost Zone deck. It looks like it's a good old Turbo Kyogre Lost Zone deck playing Dragonite, Moon, and Iron Hands. I've been saying that the Dragonite build Lost Zone is due for a comeback eventually, and I mean, this isn't the last time we've seen it in online tourneys, I think, and it's also not the first time, right? So we are seeing it still perform well in these online tourneys, and I think that the Dragonite is still an interesting card to play. I think it's still a good card. I just don't think people are playing it as much as they should be, because I know Hands and Moon are good, but Dragonite's good too. And in top 4, there's yet another Tina. It looks kind of like a standard Tina list. It is playing the Forest Seal Stone and the Lost Vacuum, though. Try to get to 7 a lot quicker. And, of course, Guardy in top 8 here. Classic Guardy, just kind of doing Guardy things. Just, playing the Iono, the Avery. No research, playing 2 reversals. Just a pretty straightforward Guardy list. Then, of course, we got a Mew deck here in top 8. It is a double Turbo Mew with 1 of Grabber, but it is playing the Oricorio in the deck. Try to give the Mew a bit of tank. I'm not sure what matchup the Oricorio really helps against overall. But the Oricorio definitely isn't a terrible card to have. I mean, the extra damage that you're not taking could be pretty relevant, right? That 20 bit of damage that your opponent isn't doing could end up saving you in the long run. So I don't hate it. I think Oricorio is okay. The only downside is your opponent go 1, 2, 3 for a game. They're not going to Oricorio, kill Mew, KO Genesect. But I do think Mew is good right now. I mean, nobody's really playing Tomb. Yeah, I think Mew's still a pretty good deck regardless, and not surprised to see it in the top 8 here. We got another Tina in top 8. This one's a bit more wild. It is playing a little bit more extra things going on in the deck. As you can see, it is playing a 1 of Ditto, but it's also playing an Iron Hands EX in the deck. So Iron Hands with Tina is not something I've seen before, but I'm definitely curious to see if it works. So I think it's a decent combo, right? You do have the Iron Hands in the deck, which does allow you to take an extra prize. Could be good in the early game. Well, in the later half of the game, you kind of have that big Tina. And then, of course, this deck is also playing a double Turbo Energy, which kind of makes sense with this deck. You can either put double Turbo on the hands to attack a lot sooner. This way, you only need 1 Mirage Gate to build it up. Or you can also use double Turbo in the late game for Giratina. You attach it to a different Pokemon, and then you can Lost Impact with the double Turbo and only get rid of 1 energy, which could be pretty relevant in saving your energy. I actually don't hate it. It doesn't seem like a terrible concept to have the double Turbo. This deck only plays to 1 Counter Catcher. Still kind of the normal stuff. 1 Roxanne, 2 Iono. Not a bad Tina list. I like it. The idea of Iron Hands with Tina is not terrible. I don't hate it. And maybe it can continue to do well. Because we haven't seen Tina with Roaring Moon. So why not Tina with Iron Hands also? You know what I mean? It doesn't seem terrible. And there's a couple Snorlax in top 8 here. This one is the Luxray build. Not playing the Pidgeot EX. It does have an Indeedee in the deck with 2 double Turbos, which you can attack with Indeedee. You build up a huge hand. Indeedee can attack your opponent. And then we got another Snorlax in top 8. This one is a little bit more traditional, playing at the Pidgeot V and the Crabominable. No Luxray, no Indeedee. But that was the Battle Park Tournament top 8. Next up is the Tournament of Doom. And this Tournament of Doom did, of course, see Giratina once again win. Giratina is just a very strong deck. I feel like Giratina does really good in the online tourneys. And in the regionals, it still has good results. But I feel like the online tourney results really do make this deck out to be the BDIF. Even though I don't think it is. It's still pretty good, but not BIF, maybe a top 5 deck in format, but it did win another online tourney, another traditional list. We see a Rapid Strike deck here. Also in second place, losing to the Giratina, which is interesting. I think Rapid Strike's favored in Tina. This one's playing a counter catcher. That's not a terrible card to play in Rapid Strike. Actually, I don't hate that because you're not some matchups you don't take any prizes until you set up like a checkmate play. Now, the interesting in top 4, we see the Jolteon Iron Valiant deck. Now, this is a deck that was pretty hyped up or popular anyways in the online tourneys when Paradox Rift first came out. But getting top 4 again is pretty cool. This is definitely a deck that I think still is decent. I don't think it's a terrible deck by any means. Obviously, you're going to probably lose to like Rapid Strike because like you can't beat Urshifu, but I do like this deck still. I've seen like Vaporeon Jolteon too, which I think is also a very fascinating deck. That's also a really cool one, you know, double evolution, why not? Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, seeing the Jolteon deck have another cool performance is kind of cool. Nice. I like to see it. It did get top 4, which is awesome to see. A couple Charizards in top 8. Looks like we just kind of see the Azul Zard list here, the one from San Antonio. And then we got another Zard in top 8. This one is the Bibarel Zard, however, playing at the Delphox V in the deck. And a couple TMs. Got the TM Evos and a TM Devo. Probably really good in the mirror match, obviously. An interesting too in this list is playing a Peony, which is not something you usually see in Zard. Yo, Peony Zard? Why does that sound actually kind of decent? Yo, Peony Bibzard doesn't sound terrible. Peony just guarantees you Rare Candy Charizard. That's kind of crazy. I actually don't hate that. What the heck? Peonies are, that's kind of crazy. I mean, we're seeing Peony Miraidon do well. We do see a Lost Gudra in top 8. So another deck that hasn't really been doing anything recently. Like, it hasn't really had any results. But Gudra, in theory, should be okay right now in our format. And I don't hate the idea of playing Lost Goo right now. It doesn't seem terrible. This build does still kind of have the standard stuff you'd see. The only thing different is that it is playing the Path of the Peaks in the deck over any other stadium like Beach Court or Artisan, which is what we usually see in these Lost Goos deck. Now, this Goo deck is playing the Path, which isn't terrible. You're kind of playing like a mini Giratina deck. Kind of, I mean, you don't have the Insta-KO or Lost Impact or Abyss Seeking, but you do still have Path, which can be a very strong card. You got the Zam in the deck. I think Zam's still a really good card. Really nice big beat stick. The Mew EX in the deck isn't bad. The only thing the deck maybe is missing is like a Tomb or a Drapion, ideally, but I do like the idea of like Path in the deck. The only downside is you should have Moisture Star. So there are downsides to playing Path. You do have that Vacuum in the deck, I guess, to help you out a little bit. And the deck did get top 8. We see a Palkia in top 8 too. Palkia definitely riding off the momentum of having a decent performance so far. It did get top 4 in San Antonio, and I definitely think Palkia is still a pretty solid deck right now. It definitely isn't a bad deck to play. This one does have the Alolan of Vulpix in the deck and a Collapse Stadium. Vulpix is nice against Charizard because you force Charizard to have to like Counter Catcher boss you, and sometimes Charizard just can't do anything against Vulpix anyways, you know? So I definitely like the idea of Palkia still. It's a very much a Palkia box deck. There's a lot of different Pokemon, Ice Rider, Vulpix, Shenpao, Zacian's in the deck, but Palkia is definitely still a pretty good deck, I think. I think it's a pretty solid deck. Just very straightforward and consistent with what it does. There's an Arc in top 8. Now, there's been a ton of Arc piles in these online tourneys. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is because there are so many random Arc piles doing well, and this isn't the first crazy one we're going to see. It's a Mimikyu Arceus deck, which I kind of like the idea. So, Mimikyu does have that spread attack where you play Ace Rule as Premonition. You can place 13 damage across the board any way you like. Which is pretty cool. You can build a Mimikyu with Arceus, and the deck plays Zacian V, which isn't terrible either. We did see Zacian in that Regigigas Arceus deck from San Antonio, mainly because it's really good into Rapid Strike, and it also gives you a way to get energy on Arc turn 1 if you whiff an energy attachment, which it happens. This deck here only plays 13 energy in total. But yeah, the idea of Mimikyu is not bad. The spread damage is good when you're playing against stuff like Charizard, or even when you're playing against stuff like Comfey decks. It's just a very strong card, and Gardevoir especially is where the Mimikyu can definitely shine. I definitely don't hate the idea of playing a 1 or 2/2 Mimikyu. It is like your main attacker though, however, and it's not going to be great in all the situations. Like against Roaring Moon, this is probably not going to come up that much because you can't really do anything. Well, I guess like Frenzied Gouging, but you don't want to put a 3-prize Dark-Wake Pokemon in play against Moon. But I don't hate the idea. I like this deck, and it does play the, I guess TM Devo goes a long way. Mimikyu can't be stopped by Jirachi, so I guess like you can TM Devo with Mimikyu, but it just sucks that Charizard just like blows you up. But I definitely don't hate the idea. It's a cool deck, and I respect it, and I always love seeing cool Arc piles do well. Next up, we got the Battle Park tournament. We got another Battle Park tourney. Long and behold, the winning deck was good old Snorlax control. I wouldn't really call it good old. Like, it's not good. Nobody likes this deck, but it did win a tourney. Snorlax is still a very good deck, and with how good Charizard is right now, it makes sense. Even these Arc piles might even struggle to beat Snorlax, because in second place, we do have Zard. It makes sense. This Charizard deck plays no Turo. It looks like it's just like the Azul 60. We do have another deck here in top 8, and it was a very crazy Xatu Cofagrigus Toolbox deck. So a lot of stuff going on here. We do see the 3/2 Cofagrigus line, your main attacker, but there are a lot of other Pokemon in the deck. We see Klefki in the deck, which is a decent Pokemon to have. Klefki can be a great starter. It's got Mimikyu. It's got Iron Valiant, which with Cofagrigus, that's not a terrible idea. Iron Valiant's ability does synergize really nicely with Cofagrigus. Not only that, you can even attack with the Valiant within this deck, because you do play the 2/2 Xatu, so you can technically build up Iron Valiant. I definitely still thought tweak with an Iron Valiant Xatu idea, and this could be the way to go with the Cofagrigus. It does have natural synergy in the deck, having two different spread combos, and then the Mew EX also is naturally a good card to play in the deck, and the Medicham. Really cool to see this deck do well in an online tourney. Like I said, man, a lot of wild stuff we're doing good in these online tourneys, which is what prompted me to make this video, and it is cool to see this Xatu deck do well, because Xatu's still kind of an underrated card. We haven't really seen it pop off yet, and this deck did get top 4. And it might have been able to beat a Guardia in top 4, which makes sense, because I feel like a spread deck like that would beat Guardia, especially when they have like 2 TM Devos and Yoga Loop, and just kind of a standard Guardia list here. And then we got another Guardian top 4, or yeah, top 8, I mean, sorry. But yeah, this Guardia does play the Cape and the Double Avery Screamtail package, trying to be super annoying with that. Guardia's still proven to be strong. There's a Mew in top 8. This one is a double Turbo Mew. Kind of looks like the Mew deck we saw from San Antonio with the 1 of Fusion Energy to give you a little bit of leeway against Tomb. It is still a DT Mew deck, though, at the end of the day. There's another Arc Pile in top 8. This one is an Arceus Lilligant V-Star deck. See what I mean, bro? These Arc Piles are getting crazy, bro. Lilligant V-Star Arc Pile, who would have guessed? Now, I don't hate the idea of that. Lilligant V-Star is a decent attacker against Charizard, and it actually does decent numbers. So it might seem like a bad idea. It's like a 260 HP. Why would you play Lilligant? Well, its attack does do 230 damage, which is kind of makes sense, because you're then one-shotting those basic Pokemon like Miraidons with, out the Charms on. So, well, this card might not seem great. It does counter Charizard, and it can KO basic Vs and EXs in one hit. So, I don't hate the idea of a Lilligant Arc deck. I actually think that is decent, because, again, you are doing decent damage with the Lilligant. You're kind of a 2-for-1 package. You're killing basic EXs, and you're also killing Charizards in one hit. Maybe 2/2 Lilligant would be the way to go. Is Lilligant better than Superior? Could be, because, again, you're one-shotting basic Pokemon. The problem with Superior is Superior can't one-shot stuff like the Miraidons and Raikus in one hit. We got another Tina in top 8, of course, because, yeah, Tina just does well in these online tourneys. It is Tina. Next up, we got the Christmas Special Tournament, and the winning deck was good old Charizard. This time it is the Tool Jammers Zard deck, playing a couple of heavy counts of Lost City. The Jammers, not a bad idea. TM Devo is definitely popular. I've already seen a couple decks playing the TM Devo already, so it makes sense to play the TM Devo in the Zard deck. Not a bad Zard list at all. Definitely Zard doing good. But it did beat an Arc Pile, and I'm interested to see what Arc Pile it beat. It actually beat an Arc Tina Vulpix Pika deck. So I'm a big fan of this idea. I like the idea of an Arc Tina Pika Vulpix deck. I've actually tried Arc Tina Vulpix before and Arc Tina Pika. Not all of them in one, but it's not a bad idea. It is a very cool anti-meta deck. The Tina's a great beat stick attacker. You got the Pikachu, which is good against basic decks. Like, it beats Miraidon. Though I guess you'd probably want to play Camo Poncho with it so that Miraidon can't go Rope Boss against you. Or Boss or whatever. But the Pika makes sense into the basic decks. You don't start Frenzy Gouging, though, which kind of sucks. And then the Vulpix is good into Zard, too. It's a really cool Arc Pile. It did lose to Zard, unfortunately. And it even plays Judge Path, which is kind of crazy. But, yeah, I guess Charizard just go burst sometimes. But, yeah, it's cool to see these Arc Piles do well. Like I said, man, these Arc Piles are getting crazy. And this is a cool one. The only thing missing from the deck is, like, again, maybe Leafy Camo Poncho wouldn't be bad, especially when you're playing these wall Pokemon. And then also no Spiritomb. But, I mean, it doesn't look like there's any Mew in top 8 anyways. Oh, I lied. There was a Mew in top 8. There's a Guardy here in top 4 playing the triple Reversal Energy in the deck. Really leaning into the Shine Arcana. That's what we saw in Brisbane. And then, of course, we see another Rapid Strike deck here in top 4. Again, Rapid Strike, just a very strong deck, consistent. It's like Tina. We've kind of seen these 60s already. There was a Fusion Mew here, though, in top 8 with the Fusion build. Once again, playing the Meloetta, the Ice Cube, the Double Judge, stuff like that. So, pretty standard Fusion Mew list here. Funny, their name is Vance Rocks. I'm not sure if that's Vance Kelly. If it is, that's pretty sick. Of course, Vance won Worlds with Mew. There was another Arc Pile in top 8. Now, this one's even crazier than the last one. It's an Arc Gyarados Sandaconda deck? Wait, what? So, I do like the idea of Sandaconda. I've been trying out Arc Sandaconda piles for a little bit now. The idea of Sandaconda is it's a VMAX Pokemon that's a fighting type. That's basically all it does, right? It's a fighting Pokemon that can hopefully take 4 prizes into Miraidon. And then, of course, you do have the ability to move energy around, which is not that bad either. That can definitely be really good, especially in combination with something like that Gyarados VMAX that also requires a lot of energy in the deck. This is a very crazy Arc Pile. It's kind of like combining the Arc Gyarados deck, because it does have similar cards like the Vengeful Punch. There's also Crushing Hammer. I didn't even see that. Okay, wow, the deck also plays Crushing Hammer to try to be annoying and remove energy. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. See, man, these Arc Piles, they're getting crazy. This is what I was excited for, is just looking at all these Arc Piles, because I'm a big fan. Gyarados is maybe an interesting card because it's like, well, it's weak to Miraidon. Well, you have the Sandaconda to deal with Miraidon. Against Miraidon, you just use Sandaconda, not Gyarados. You're playing like these two like snaky Pokemon. Gyarados, it's not really a snake, but it is kind of similar to a snake. It's just like, you know what I mean? Sandaconda and Gyarados are both very similar with what they look like to an animal. You know what I mean? But the Gyarados does do a lot of damage. Max Tyrant, take out basic EXs. If you're playing as Miraidon, you just play the Sandaconda instead of the Gyarados. Really cool deck, and the energy removal is kind of cool. That's a spicy Arc Pile. I love it, man. I love Arc Piles. We do see Goldengo in top 8. Goldengo did get, I think it was second place at the Champions League Kyoto, which is why I want to, why I'm waiting for the results to get posted to see all the decks, because there was some interesting stuff, and this was one of them. It was a Goldengo Palkia deck, actually, that did good in Kyoto. So it makes sense that it would translate well over here. Palkia Goldengo is something I have seen before, and I do like the concept. So Palkia synergizes nicely with Goldengo for a couple of reasons. You're naturally discarding energy for Star Portal, and also you just have Palkia as an early game attacker. In the early game, you can put on some pressure with Palkia, and then I guess you have Scizor too, and in the late game, you can start going with the Goldengo. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1 package. And against like Charizard, you can go Palkia early on and then kind of clean up with Goldengo. So I really like this idea. It's also playing the Cologne Greninja combo, so it's a really cool deck and something that I definitely want to try out. It's really cool to see that in top 8. And then there was a Charizard in top 8 once again, just another, looks like the Azul the San Antonio deck. But yeah, really cool stuff there. Some crazy Arc Piles in top 8. Next up, we got the Reach for the Stars tournament, which actually the deck that won was a Lugia V-Star deck. Now, this one does have the technology. It's got the vessels, but it's also playing a Coco GX, or Coco EX, sorry, in the deck. GX, we're long past that. Coco EX, which does paralyze the opponent when something gets knocked out. Not a terrible card. I mean, not many decks are respecting paralysis right now. You can definitely get away with some cheeky plays with the Coco, and it's a natural inclusion. You just need 1 lightning, 1 splash energy on the Coco, so not a bad idea. Definitely cool to see. And then we do see a Rapid Strike deck in second place too. Again, just pretty standard stuff with Rapid Strike. Just Rapid Strike's good. And I guess, yeah, I would lose to Lugia. Rapid Strike would struggle against Lugia. Then we got a Zard in top 8 here with an Entei. So not playing the Rotom, but leading into Entei, which I still don't hate. It's a nice early game attacker. Can be a good aggressor. It looks like just basically swapped Rotom for Entei from Azul's list. And then we got a Dialga V-Star deck in top 4. Now, this is, like I said, where things get crazy, bro. There's a Dialga Magnezone deck. Now, surprisingly enough, Dialga Magnezone still has legs. I don't hate the idea of the deck. I mean, Star Chronos is still a ridiculous V-Star power. Metal Blast can be good. I mean, Dialga's a pretty good attacker. You can also come close to, like, killing Charizards in one hit. I have tried out Dialga with Iron Hands, but it's something I do want to make a video on. I think Dialga Hands makes sense because you can Magnezone the Iron Hands and build it up in a single turn. You just need to play Lightning Energy. But I do like the idea of a Dialga Magnezone deck. Seeing it in top 4 of Eternity is pretty cool to see, and I definitely am excited to see if more people will play it. It does play a lot of energy. You lead into the Adaman 18 energy build. Really cool build. I like it. I'm excited to see Dialga do well again. There's another Zard in top 8 here. Like, pretty much this the Azul Zard deck. Playing the Turo. We got Tina. Again, just very straightforward stuff with the Tina deck there. And then we see another Guardy below it. I saw, yeah, another Guardy. Yeah, Guardy's doing Guardy things. And like I said, man, more Arc Piles galore. We got another Arc Pile in top 8. This one is an Arc. It's a bit more traditional. It's an Arc Slacking deck. It still plays Judge Path. Got the Mew, got the Zacian V in the deck. Yeah, it's a bit more of a traditional Arc Pile deck. Slacking's not bad. It's another big beat stick attacker. It's tanky. It works with Spiritomb and Path, so there's natural synergy there. Pretty cool stuff. It's got double Charon's Care. Another card that does also work with Slacking is the Charon's Care. Next up, we got the Deck Out Monday tournament here, and we see the Winnie deck being Cloth of all decks, but not bad. I mean, into a meta with Miraidon and Zard, it doesn't seem bad. Electrode is also good in those basic EXs. This deck does play a TM Devo, so really trying to capitalize on just beating Zard down with the TM Devo too. Not a terrible idea, especially if they do attack you with like Pidgeot or something. It is kind of a funny card. It is revealing, though, to play this in a open deckless tourney, but it is cool to see nonetheless. There was another Rapid Strike in top 4. I'm surprised Rapid Strike lost to Cloth. I feel like Rapid Strike should just farm Cloth, but I mean, maybe the Cloth deck like donked them or something. That maybe is what happened. Because I feel like Rapid Strike should be favored into it. There's a Fusion Mew here in top 4. The Cloth deck got lucky they dodged the Fusion Mew deck because that's a pretty bad matchup for Cloth, especially the Fusion Mew build. But it is a pretty standard stuff. Playing the one Judge, playing the Turo in the deck isn't a bad supporter to play in the deck either. We see another interesting deck here in top 4 was the super effective Glasses Lost Box deck. So this deck has been riding the momentum of its decent placements that it's been having, and it makes sense to see it here again, playing the Minior with the glasses, the Iron Hands glasses, Tropius glasses. It's a cool stuff. The only thing the deck is not playing is that Galarian Moltres V. It's also obviously not playing Sableye. It is playing Bravery Charm, though, in the deck, too. So that's cool to see. I think the Glasses deck is definitely pretty cool. It's cool to see the deck have good performances. We see another Palkia deck here. This one is the Palkia Bibarel deck, not playing the Ice Rider, though, which is an interesting disclusion from the deck, not playing the Ice Rider, but opting to play instead the Vulpix and the Shenpao. Leaning more into the Palkia. Bibarel is nice. Again, Bibarel is not a bad card to play, especially against Iona, which is one of Palkia's biggest weaknesses. There is a Miraidon in top 8, and it is the more standard version of Miraidon with the Judge and the Path and the Ionos and the Double Turbo for the Iron Hands. Some Meowscarada in top 8. That's exciting. That's actually a TM Evolution Meowscarada. I did a video on this deck a couple weeks back, and I definitely think that the idea of Meowscarada TM Evo, it's there. There's potential for the deck, and it's a very straightforward list. You're essentially just playing a green Charizard deck. It's not Meowscarada's not similar to Charizard, but it's kind of like the same concept, especially with the Bibarel in the deck. You do have to play Alakazam in the deck, though, with Meowscarada. You got the Medicham in there. Really cool stuff. Seeing Meowscarada in top 8 is awesome to see, and I know there's a ton of Meowscarada stands. It's arguably one of the most popular EXs in the game right now, so I know a lot of people might be happy to see that got top 8. And there's a Snorlax in top 8. Snorlax list with 0 energy in the deck, to be exact. And then finally, we got the Sunny's weekly tournament. And the winning deck was Arctina, which, very straightforward Arctina list. It is playing 15 energy, which I don't hate. I mean, just turn 1 energy, Arc, go Burr. And then, of course, the double Tina V-Star, a very good card in the deck. Pretty nice list. I mean, I like the Judges. No research, just opting for Heavy Judge, a couple Ionos. Maybe want to play a third Iono, but the Turo's nice to have 2 in the deck, especially against Control, where you do have access to Shred. I mean, Giratina V just bodies Control, because you can just shred them. And then, of course, you got the Box of Disaster, which is nice. A pretty clean 60. I'm a big fan of the 60. I think Arctina's generally a good deck right now. We see a Lugia in second place. What kind of format are we in? This one's playing an Iron Bundle in the deck. It's actually a Colorless Lugia deck with the Iron Bundle. I'm not sure what matchup the Iron Bundle is for exactly, but it's not a terrible card to play in Lugia. It makes sense. Iron Bundle is just kind of like it's a pseudo mini escape rope, right? Forces the opponent to switch. But it's a cool Lugia 60. It's awesome to see Lugia do well. I think Lugia slept on. It's definitely fallen off, but I don't think like Lugia's dead or anything. It's not like the worst deck you can play. It's maybe more of an online tourney deck, but we'll see. We see a Regis too. Like what I tell you, man, these tournaments are crazy, bro. There's a Regis in top 4. Another deck that isn't really like, getting super good results, but in practice it's not bad. It's got the ability to attack turn 1. It has a lot of cool plays, a lot of good type coverage with the Regirock and even the Regieleki to a degree. And even Registeel, depending if you play against Shenpao. But I do like the deck, and it's cool to see. And the deck has a TM Devolution to really beat Zard. And that's like the big issue Regis faces, is it just does not have a good matchup against Zard. Not only does Zard sometimes play heavy Lost City, but they're also very hard to two-shot, because your main attacker with that, you'd have to use the Evolving Skies Regidrago against them, because you can't really two-shot Charizard that easily. But the TM Devo does go a long way in the matchup. I really like this Regi 60. It's a cool 60, and I'm a big Regi fan. I'm one of my favorite decks, so it's cool to see the deck still live in this format. We got a couple Tinas in top 8. This time it's Tina Moon. Another deck that I'm interested in trying out soon. Tina Moon makes sense. You have 2 insta-KO delete attacks with the Tina and the Moon combined, so not a bad concept. And then there's another Giratina deck here. More standard Giratina 60 in the top 8 of this tournament. Another Zard here. Looks like, yeah, pretty much just the San Antonio winning list here. We see another Tina. 3 Tinas in top 8. Dang. Crazy that Tina. 3 of them were in top 8 and 1 of them didn't win. That's crazy, bro. It's another standard Tina 60 here, it looks like. That one played a Tomb, though. We see another Klawf in top 8. Well, Klawf make it work. And this actually looks like the similar 60 to the one that won that other tournament we just looked at, playing that one of TM Devolution. But there you have, folks. That is all the recent online tourneys that had over 100 players to look at here. Again, the big notable thing to note, that didn't make any sense. But you get what I mean, right? The big notable thing is that there's a lot of arc piles. We saw Meowscarada, a Dialga deck. That's what I love about looking at these online tournament results. People just doing well with these crazy rogue decks like Dialga Magnezone, Meowscarada getting top 8. Just some cool stuff going on. A lot of arc piles. I do think that Arc's in a pretty good spot right now. Other than just having, obviously, not the greatest Tina matchup, Arc still seems like a pretty strong play right now. I guess Rapid Strike would be a tough one too. But I'm a fan of seeing all these arc piles do well. The Gyarados, Sandaconda arc pile, the Arc Mimikyu deck, some crazy stuff going on. I'm a fan of it, and hope you all enjoyed the video. Again, if y'all are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Help me on the road to reaching 10,000 subs here on the second channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. And that'll be it for me. Hope you all enjoyed the video here, and I'll see you on another video, maybe for looking at the Champions League Kyoto results whenever those get posted. But I'll catch y'all later. I'll leave a link to Play.Limits down below if you ever want to go play in an online tourney. Hopefully, I'm going to be streaming an online tourney very soon, too. I do plan to do that eventually. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.